couldn't be better timing, Walker Bragman from, among other things, the Gilded Age podcast and the Daily Poster, where he just wrote something about Neera Tanden. So such great timing. Welcome, Walker.
Hey, Walker.
Hi. How lucky am I? I get to sit here and talk politics, shoot the shit with you two. This is amazing.
It's great to see you.
It's great to see both of you.
But Walker, please walker us through your latest piece. You're welcome.
That was good.
Thank you. On Neera Tanden.
So we basically looked into where she was during the 2011 budget negotiations. So back in 2010, Republicans, can I swear?
Yes.
So Republicans totally fucked the Democrats, and down ballot, just it was a obliteration. And the Republicans took back the House. And during that time, the Obama administration was like, well, we have to negotiate. We have to find a middle ground with the GOP. And part of that involved offering up Social Security cuts in the form of a chained CPI, chained consumer price index, which essentially would just slow the rate at which benefits increased. So it would slow the rate at which benefits grew. And it really split the Democratic Party. I mean, you had certain groups like just did not want to back this, and Elizabeth Warren was a prominent voice against it. Bernie Sanders was a prominent voice against it. But then you had others that lined up behind the Obama administration and sort of adopted these talking points about how, well, we got to rein in the deficit. We really got to do something about it. And Neera Tanden, Center for American Progress, was one of those groups. And Neera Tanden herself came out and was like, we really got to do something. So that was the report. I'm pretty shocked that it was even in the running for a White House, for an administration job. Like, I thought that after the assaults came to light, after she outed like a sexual harassment victim.
Oh yeah, forgot about that.
After the news about the
and by the assault, you're talking about the Fez Shakir punch in the chest?
Yeah.
Okay.
After the I should say battery then. And after the ties to the UAE, all of that stuff came to light. I'm pretty surprised.
And her toxic presence on
the internet,
on Twitter, on the internet, like that's
on Al Gore's internet.
Yeah.
Oh well, I don't know it. I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, I know. She helped publicize your parents, right, Walker? I believe.
I don't know if she did that, but she's amplified the accounts.
You're right. Yeah, I'm going to treat her with the accuracy with which she does not treat other people, and say that, we don't. She may not have been involved. It may just have been her friends. Couldn't have happened.
But they definitely are her friends. Yeah. Yeah,
they are her friends. Yeah.
Yeah, it also kind of exposes the extent to which, like, I remember I was reading some of the Podesta emails, and apparently she was on tap to be head of HHS in the Clinton administration, and like now she gets this. It's like there's no relationship between what the job is and what her specialties.
Right.
Yeah, like what we're having all of this conversation, but there's also a conversation to be had about like what are the qualifications.
Yeah.
Like, did she have health expertise, like health and human? Like, I don't.
Right.
Are these just, we're just like, oh, you're smart, go do that. Or you're loyal, so go do that.
As someone who advocated making Libya, we talked about this earlier, as someone who advocated having countries that were victims of U.S. foreign policy and imperialism, making them pay it forward, so to speak, by giving us their oil. I do actually think she's very qualified to be working on budget issues of the budget. I mean, as is anyone who's someone who ruined an economy somewhere, like Herbert Hoover, right? Hoover, he's also, at least it's an appropriate pick. Like, it's at least the field makes sense. She's awful in it, but it's an appropriate genre of I don't think the health thing is.
I mean, she definitely makes sense for who Biden is, right? Like, I mean, Biden himself has like advocated for cuts to social programs for his entire political career. I mean, and so somebody like Tanden would obviously appeal to him, especially since she was on his side back in those
but not her ferocity and her affect. That's what's like the surprising thing. You know what I mean? As you say in your piece, which is at the Daily Poster, which we were talking about because it's a great site. You say in your piece, Biden, who has repeatedly pushed for Social Security cuts throughout his career, announced his selection of Center for American Progress President Neera Tanden as his choice to run the powerful White House Office of Management and Budget. A longtime aide to Hillary Clinton, Tanden touted her think tank's 2010 proposal to reduce Social Security benefits in 2012, as Biden was pushing for such cuts in the Obama administration. The Center on Budget and Policy Priorities, a liberal think tank, found that the changed CPI would cut Social Security retirement benefits by about 2%.
It's just bananas.
But they also said they would support it because that's how liberal think tanks are. And of course, they supported the idea, Center for American Progress. And what you have is interesting. You have a clip of it. And instead of reading it, I'm just going to play it.
And I think that there's other, there are progressive governors like O'Malley and Cuomo who've taken a much more balanced approach on budgets, where they've looked at taxes as well as reforming programs and cutting programs. And so I think that's the approach the American people are supporting.
There's a viewer here who wants you to take us deeper into entitlements by Twitter. Ms. Tanden, do you know what the president means when he says entitlements are on the table? Any specifics and anything you would endorse?
Yeah, I mean, so there are a range of entitlements that, I think when we're talking about entitlements, we're talking about Medicare, Social Security, Medicaid. These are programs that people receive support because of the status that they have. So when after 65, you get funding from Social Security and Medicare. Actually, it's getting older for Social Security. But the president has $300 billion in his budget in cuts in Medicare. That comes on top of cuts in Medicare from the Affordable Care Act. So he has put specific cuts in the budget already in Medicare, and they had savings in Medicaid in the past. I think the question really is, if we're going to have a deal to address long-term deficit reduction, we need to put both entitlements on the table as well as taxes. It's unfair to ask only middle-class Americans to bear the burden of our deficits. Middle-class Americans
ask poor Americans too.
So I think
I was like, I made a face that was quizzical, but it wasn't totally. Half of it was sarcastic, but half of it was like, am I missing something here? Let's just replay this part.
So middle-class Americans actually didn't.
Okay, so we have to get entitlements and taxes, because if we just raise taxes, that's not fair, because then it's not fair to middle class to raise taxes. Yeah,
unfair to ask only if we're going to have a deal to address.
Okay, I'm just going to say this once and then I'll move on. But the hair. Did anyone see the movie Hairspray? Where the mom at the the enemy, the skinny white blonde girl, right?
Are we talking about the original or the remake?
Oh no, the John Waters one, the original, where her mom has a big beehive and it turns out there's a bomb hidden in it. Racist, pro-segregation mom. So this is like if you had a brown version of it, a little bit less obvious, a little bit less.
Hey mama, look around.
Yes, that's just me saying that, and Bree and Walker totally condemned that, and I'll put this in the bonus, the outtakes or something. But I mean, I don't know what is in there, but something's going on there. All right.
Long-term deficit reduction. We need to put both entitlements on the table as well as taxes. It's unfair to ask only middle-class Americans to bear the burden of our deficits. Middle-class Americans actually didn't create the deficits.
It's the poor people whose entitlement.
You're right, Katie, because I listened to this, I posted it, and I had glazed over that part even, because I was like, okay, she's like for entitlement cuts, like that's the point of this clip. This is so much worse. This is so much worse than that.
I know.
We're talking about, this is 2010. We're talking about, correct me if I'm wrong, Walker, quote unquote, digging
No, this is 2012.
out.
This is February 2012.
Okay, well, still, we're still. Are we talking about deficits that are basically created by the financial crisis? Are we still talking about?
She acknowledges that later, and she says that the Bush tax cuts were probably the single greatest contributor. Like she does say that. I want to be fair here. That,
so is it poor people that how is it poor people? How is it not? When she says it wasn't middle class people who created this tax cut, is that because she's saying it's George Bush and the donors and the 1% that have created it?
Yeah, that it's the Republicans, it's the wealthy not paying their taxes. But I think the key part here is that this is like 3 years after the global economy collapsed.
Right.
People are still struggling, and people are still struggling today from that.